This FedGov Today program is sponsored by Maximus. On this edition of FedGov Today, logistics and experience aren't the only benefit for cross-agency collaboration.
The energy that's created when Renee and her team come over and actually give us their briefs and their demos is just unbelievable.
Mike Bowers of the VA on FedGov Today in just a moment. Uniting program strategy, advanced technology, process, and execution for a more efficient government. That's Maximus. Every program, every service, every time. That's innovation forward. Learn more at maximus.com/federal. A collaboration is driving a key modernization effort at the Department of Veterans Affairs. VA is working with Arlington National Cemetery on a management modernization program. Renea Yates is director of the Office of Army Cemeteries, located at Arlington National Cemetery. Mike Bowers is acting Deputy Undersecretary for the National Cemetery Administration at VA. Folks, welcome. Thanks for joining me. Renee, I start with you. What is the solution that you've implemented at Arlington National Cemetery, and how did you get from what you were doing before to the modernization strategy that you've implemented now? Welcome.
Thank you for that question. Arlington National Cemetery back in 2010, 2011 went through a significant management oversight review and changes to the processes that they were using then to now. Essentially, I'll be perfectly honest with you, from paper to an automated burial management system. It was a rapid development of a system that was partially automated, but we rounded it out and have continued to develop what is now the Enterprise Interment Services System. That system is multiple systems that communicate with each other, that allow Arlington National Cemetery, the Army, and now all the Department of War cemeteries to operate geospatially and using technology that communicates back and forth and allows the customer, the families and the service members that we support to be able to see the headstones on our website and on our geospatial app, ANC Explorer. For our post cemeteries, there's 30 Army cemeteries beyond the 2 national that we manage. Those cemeteries, you can see all of their graves on our website. And now the Department of War cemeteries, the Air Force, the Navy, and the Coast Guard all manage cemeteries. You can see those as well. And so our automated system of record ensures 100% burial accountability by ensuring that we clearly identify and commemorate the veteran or family member who we're interring, and then allows us to geospatially manage the burial space inventory, the niches above ground and the below ground grave spaces. And that's how we manage and communicate and ensure the quality assurance of each burial.
As you transition from a paper system to what you're using now, this enterprise system that you're using now, did you run across any challenges or issues with implementation that either were peculiar to what you did because of the nature of your mission, or that were similar to what other organizations that you've communicated with ran into as they did this kind of a digital modernization, it sounds like?
So we experienced several challenges, but we were able to overcome most of them in the sense that we used systems that already are in existence. For example, the National Cemeteries Administration is who provides the Army and all of the Department of War and all veterans their headstones. And so we thank Mike and his team for that. And we ordered those at one time through their systems. So a lot of what we did was mirrored the data infrastructure that is required to manage that portion of the burial process, the headstone ordering. We mirrored that in our systems so that we didn't have a duplication of effort. We'd be able to sustain that synergy that we already had.
Mike, it sounds like there's an ongoing dialogue and collaboration between NCA and Arlington National Cemetery. It strikes me then that it's a natural progression of that for you to say, well, you're using a system that we need. Why don't you just show us how to do it? Is that kind of how it went down, Mike?
It is. You're right. We for at least 15 years, closely we've been working with and coordinating with the Army. And, we've been sharing best practices, lessons learned, and management insights as we both operate, as you mentioned, in the same space. It was through that ongoing relationship, not just a one-time introduction, that NCA became familiar with this new system that the Army had built.
How did you go about evaluating it on the VA side to make sure that it wasn't as simple? I'm sure it wasn't as simple as they run a cemetery, we run cemeteries, we'll just use what they're doing. I imagine it was a little more complicated than that.
Yeah, much more complicated because, we certainly want to serve our veterans and their families the best we can. And, so we brought together a senior leadership team. And then we included functional experts from across the different disciplines that we have in the administration. And we took a really hard look at where our current systems were falling short. And, the NCA was relying on two separate systems, and that split created friction. So the team identified those pain points and concluded that EISS was, in fact, could close those gaps and better support the experience we deliver to the veterans and their families. So rather than to try to merge together a legacy system like we had tried before with some form of a new system, we've just gone to an entirely new platform. And we're excited with that because not only with the system, but with the collaboration we get to do with the Army.
You anticipated a couple of my next questions, Mike, and the first one was going to be, what capabilities do you have now that you didn't have before? It sounds like it's not that so much as what the focus of my second question was that you kind of touched on already, which is what were you transitioning from versus now what you're transitioning to, and how is it benefiting the way that you're delivering on your mission?
Yeah, so we've just started, developing. The Army's going to give us and share with us their code, and we're going to take that and we're going to adapt our processes to it. And this is, going to take considerable change management on our part, but it's also going to allow us to not make costly mistakes, because we can, in close collaboration, learn from what they went through and apply it to all the team members we have in what we call an integrated project team that are formed in groups and then collectively in a larger group to get it out across the field and the central office. So it was often a split between what the central office or what the districts may be seeing versus what at the very ground level in the cemeteries we're using. So this is going to allow one system to bring all that together.
What you touched on there, Mike, a moment ago, I think is, as an outsider looking at this, is maybe the most important element of it, and that is that you're going to adapt your business processes to this system instead of taking the system that Renea's using and saying, okay, well, we'll just tweak it these 5 ways that wind up kind of being the challenge in implementation. We've seen this many times in government. 5 years down the road, it's still not doing exactly what you want it to. Right.
No, that's that. You hit it. We have our message here at NCA is we're going to adapt to it. It's not going to adapt to us, right? So we're going to take what they give us and we're going to adapt our processes to it. There may be rare occasions where we have to make a very minor adjustment, but, for the most part, we are, strongly pushing the message that we need to be ready to make this change.
Renea, what does that collaboration piece look like from your side? What are you providing to Mike and his team at the VA to enable them to make this transition as smoothly as possible, given that they're moving not just from one system to your system, but from a couple of systems to your system? Is there anything on your end that you're able to help them do as they're working through that transition?
Yeah, so Francis, we really we work together to see our data and to build the architecture of the data so that the system that they'll be merging into can understand the information and share it across. It is multiple platforms, a geospatial platform and a burial accountability data system that orders headstones and sends sends emails. So, helping, at the highest level, understand the architecture of the system and the data that it needs to be able to function the way it does. The goodness is we all have the same data, the same elements of information that we use to manage a cemetery. It's making that data, we like to call it cleansing the data so that it can be read and be able to be communicated across the platforms to make it operate at the user level, at the cemetery level. And then it has dashboards so that you can see the information at the higher level. We're doing some direct training and spent several, have my team, the ANC team, helping the NCA, their process team, their integrated process team, understand how it operates and do training so that they can then train the trainer. The shared expertise, that is, Mike mentioned for over 15 years we've shared best practices and in everything from headstone cleaning to the types of training that we do across our forces. So that shared experience and continuing to share where our pain points are with them, and so that they can kind of see the road ahead and understand as they migrate to this new system, kind of what some of the challenges they may encounter.
Mike, I imagine that those people coming and talking to your people about this is what this will do and this is how this will help you has been a big element in that change management piece that you talked about a few moments ago. So you're not just saying, here's a new system, you have to use it. They're learning from people who are using it on an ongoing basis that this is why this is better than what you had before.
It could be said that that's the strongest part of this change management, because the energy that's created when Renee and her team come over and actually give us their briefs and their demos is just unbelievable. It just livens people up, and to see it being used firsthand. We've had some folks go over to Arlington and get hands-on experience with it. Their team went out to St. Louis and worked with our team in scheduling and some other areas. It brings it to life, and it allows us to see it, and it goes a long way in that change management.
What's the timeline that you have to get this all the way up to speed and get your people all the way up to speed, Mike, so that you can start to judge this is working the way that we wanted to, or we might need to redirect in one way or another?
We've set an aggressive timeline, so we're going with 1 October of 2027. When we've got a few things that we're going through the initial growing pains with, but come towards the end of August, September, we have about a 12-month period that we're going to really hit this hard, and then we want it rolled out and go live October 1st.
And I imagine some of the things that you're working through right now are things that Renee and her team are able to help you smooth those bumps out a little bit.
Absolutely. Yeah, Renee, there's never a time that we call over there that she doesn't answer our call and is willing to help out, and whether it's a big question or a small one. So it's the level of collaboration is just wonderful.
Renee, you talked about some of the benefits that you were able to add on for the customer experience, the app and the photographs of the stones and so on. Are there other things over the horizon that you would like to add to that, or have you? Do you think you're in a pretty mature spot right now when it comes to capability?
So, Francis, we are always seeking to improve that service we deliver to the families, and we have several several initiatives that we continue to work towards. Things such as a portal, family portal, where families can actually initiate their request for burial from their side, instead of them making a phone call or sending an email and us data entering. And so as we continue to grow the program and the partnership with the NCA, we see that as a great opportunity. I will share with you, I had the opportunity while I was still in uniform to be here at Arlington National Cemetery in 2010 and 2011, and fax was the primary means of communicating with families and funeral homes, and to have matured to the point today where our system sends an automatic email to the funeral home and the family with their documents, and they can visually see what their headstone's going to look like. That it's so rewarding for families for that level of communication, and the business processes have come along, and I anticipate we will continue to find ways to improve and to collaborate and add other connections. The system has it works through a method of communication through the IT systems, and connections with potentially service documents from the service branches of service and the National Personal Records National Personal Record Center. Being able to ingest the discharge documents and things of that nature that make it much easier on families in the future.
Mike, are you aiming to include capabilities like that for the families that you serve too, as you get this system connected and up and running?
That we're open to that continuous improvement as well. I think that Renee and I have specifically talked about this, and it's really such an exciting part of it is, things that they're able to get to and start looking at now, we'll be able to benefit from. And if there's things we're already doing that they haven't been able to do, we can share back with them. So, we're just excited to see what they continue to improve on and what we can, learn from each other.
Mike, Renee, I appreciate the chance to learn about your collaboration. Congratulations on your success, and thank you for your time today. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Francis.
Thank you.
You can read more on today's show page at fedgovtoday.com. The next FedGov Today podcast is coming Thursday. I'm Francis Rose. I'll talk to you then. Thanks for listening.